Maya Chen froze when she saw the photograph on her doorstep. It was her, taken 3 days ago at the coffee shop, but she had been alone that morning. Someone had been watching. The manila envelope contained no return address, just her name written in precise block letters. Inside, alongside the photo, was a single piece of paper with 2 words, "You're perfect." Maya's hands trembled as she locked her apartment door behind her, checking the deadbolt twice before setting the envelope on her kitchen counter. She had always prided herself on being observant. As a forensic psychologist, she spent her days analyzing criminal behavior patterns, studying the minds that most people preferred to forget existed. Yet somehow someone had been studying her and she hadn't noticed a thing. Maya poured herself a glass of wine, trying to rationalize the situation. Maybe it was a prank from one of her colleagues at the state psychiatric facility. Dr. Harrison was always making jokes about her methodical nature, how she approached everything like a case study. But the photograph felt different, professional, calculated. She examined the image again under her kitchen light. The angle suggested the photographer had been sitting across the street, possibly in a car. She remembered that morning clearly. She had ordered her usual cappuccino and sat by the window reviewing case files for her afternoon session with Marcus Webb, a convicted stalker who insisted he could predict which women would become victims based on their behavioral patterns. The irony wasn't lost on her. Maya's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Did you like my gift? You have such beautiful routines." Her breath caught. This person knew her schedule, her habits. They had been watching long enough to document her patterns. She immediately called Detective Sarah Rodriguez, her contact at the police department from her consulting work. "Maya, it's late. Everything okay?" Sarah's voice carried concern even through the phone's static. "Someone's been watching me. I found a photograph on my doorstep, and now they're texting me." Maya read the message aloud, her voice steadier than she felt. "Have you noticed anyone following you? Any recent cases that might have triggered this?" Maya mentally reviewed her current caseload. Besides Webb, she was working with 2 other patients, both serving time for violent crimes, both claiming rehabilitation. "I don't think so. My cases are all institutionalized. What about Webb? Didn't you say he was up for parole review?" The thought hadn't occurred to her. Webb had been her most challenging case, brilliant and manipulative, with an uncanny ability to read people's vulnerabilities. During their sessions, he often made comments about her personal life that were just observant enough to be unsettling without crossing professional boundaries. "His hearing is next week," Maya admitted. "But he's been locked up for 3 years. Psychopaths are patient, Maya. You know that better than anyone. They plan, they wait, and they often have help on the outside." After hanging up, Maya pulled Webb's file from her briefcase. She had been documenting their sessions meticulously, noting his increasing fixation on victim selection patterns. He claimed he could identify the perfect target within minutes of observation, someone vulnerable but strong, independent but isolated, intelligent but trusting, someone exactly like her. Maya walked to her bedroom window and peered through the blinds at the street below. A sedan was parked across from her building, one she didn't recognize from the neighborhood regulars. As she watched, the interior light flickered on briefly, revealing a figure in the driver's seat. They were still watching. She grabbed her phone to call Sarah back, but another text appeared. "Don't call the police again. Maya, you wouldn't want me to lose interest in our game and find someone else to play with. Someone less prepared." The message contained an attachment, a photo of her elderly neighbor, Mrs. Peterson, taken through her ground floor window as she watched television. The old woman had no idea she was being photographed, completely vulnerable and unaware. Maya's training kicked in. This person was escalating, moving from surveillance to implicit threats. They were using her protective instincts against her, leveraging her care for innocent people to control her behavior. It was a classic manipulation tactic, one she had seen countless times in her work. But knowing the psychology behind it didn't make it less terrifying. She closed her laptop and checked every lock in her apartment again. Tomorrow, she would have to face Webb for their regular session, and she suspected he would be wearing that same knowing smile he always did when he felt he was winning their psychological chess match. Maya poured another glass of wine and settled into her armchair, Webb's file open on her lap. If someone was playing games with her mind, she needed to understand the rules. And if that someone was connected to Marcus Webb, she had less than a week before his parole hearing to figure out how to stop them. Outside her window, the sedan's engine started, and the vehicle slowly pulled away from the curb. But Maya knew they would be back. Predators were nothing if not persistent. Maya arrived at the state psychiatric facility 30 minutes early, hoping to review security footage before her session with Webb. Her hand still shook slightly as she badged through the reinforced doors, a reminder of the sleepless night spent analyzing every shadow outside her window. Dr. Harrison met her in the hallway, his usual jovial expression replaced by concern. "Maya, you look terrible." "Everything all right?" She forced a professional smile. "Just tired." "Long night reviewing cases. Well, your boy Webb has been asking for you since dawn. The guards say he's been more animated than usual, almost excited." Maya's stomach twisted. Webb never showed excitement unless he felt he was gaining some advantage. She made her way to the observation room adjacent to the interview space, where she could watch the security monitors showing Webb's cell. He was sitting on his narrow bed, perfectly still except for his hands, which moved in small, precise gestures as if he were conducting an invisible orchestra. Maya recognized the behavior from her notes. He did this when he was processing new information, planning his next move in whatever psychological game he was playing. The interview room was sterile and windowless, designed to prevent any environmental distractions during sessions. Maya entered with her standard recording equipment and legal pad, maintaining the routine that had governed their interactions for months. Webb looked up as she sat down, and his smile was different. Not the calculated expression she was accustomed to, but something more genuine, more satisfied. "Dr. Chen, You look tired. Trouble sleeping? Maya kept her expression neutral. Let's focus on you, Marcus. How are you feeling about your parole hearing? Optimistic. He leaned back in his chair, studying her face with the intensity of a scientist examining a specimen. I've been thinking about our previous discussions regarding victim selection. You were particularly interested in my theories about identifying the perfect target. Your rehabilitation progress is what we're here to discuss. Webb's laugh was soft and unsettling. Of course. My rehabilitation. He paused, tilting his head slightly. Tell me, doctor, in your professional opinion, what makes someone vulnerable to predatory behavior? Maya felt a chill run down her spine, but she maintained her clinical demeanor. There are various psychological and environmental factors that can increase risk, such as isolation, predictable routines, trusting nature, high empathy levels. She realized too late that she was describing herself. Webb's smile widened. Fascinating. And how would a predator go about identifying these traits in a potential victim? Marcus, this line of questioning isn't appropriate for our session. Observation, doctor. Extended surveillance to map behavioral patterns. Understanding daily routines, emotional triggers, protective instincts. He leaned forward slightly. The really skilled ones, they make it feel like a game. They enjoy the intellectual challenge of psychological manipulation. Maya's pen had stopped moving across her notepad. Webb noticed immediately. Something wrong, doctor? You seem distracted today. She forced herself to write, anything to break the intensity of his gaze. I'm documenting your responses as always. Of course you are. You're very thorough in your documentation. Very methodical. Webb's voice carried a tone she had never heard before, almost affectionate. It's one of the things I admire about you. Our professional relationship maintains appropriate boundaries. Marcus. Professional relationship. He repeated the words slowly, as if tasting them. Yes, that's exactly what this is. Nothing more, nothing less. Another pause. Though I do wonder sometimes what you do when you leave here. Where you go, what you think about during those quiet evening hours alone in your apartment. Maya's blood turned to ice. He shouldn't know she lived alone. That information wasn't in any accessible file. Webb continued, apparently oblivious to her reaction. I imagine you review your cases, maybe have a glass of wine while you work. You strike me as someone who enjoys routine, predictability. Am I wrong? How do you know I live alone? The question escaped before she could stop herself. Webb's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes, triumph. Did I say you lived alone, doctor? I don't recall making that specific statement. Maya reviewed his words and realized he was right. He had been general enough to maintain plausible deniability while conveying information that felt specific and personal. You're very good at this, she said quietly. At what? Psychological manipulation. Webb leaned back again, his smile returning. Doctor, I'm hurt that you would suggest I'm manipulating you. We're simply having a conversation about behavioral patterns and victim psychology. Isn't that your area of expertise? Maya closed her notepad and stood up. I think we should end today's session early. Of course. You have other patients to see, other cases to review. Webb remained seated, his posture relaxed. Though I do hope you'll be careful, Doctor. The world can be dangerous for someone with your particular combination of intelligence and naivety. As Maya reached the door, Webb called out one final comment that stopped her cold. Oh, and Doctor? Give my regards to Mrs. Peterson. Maya turned around slowly. Webb was no longer smiling. His expression had shifted to something colder, more calculating. What did you say? I said be careful, Doctor. These old buildings, they're not as secure as people think. Lots of ways in and out if you know what you're looking for. Maya left the interview room without another word, her heart pounding as she realized the full scope of what was happening. Webb might be locked up, but his influence clearly extended beyond the facility's walls. In the hallway, she pulled out her phone and found 3 new text messages from the unknown number. The first was a photo of her car in the facility's parking lot. The second was a picture of her walking into the building 30 minutes ago. The third message simply read, "He says hello." Maya sat in Detective Rodriguez's office, watching Sarah review the text messages and photographs spread across her desk. The police station buzzed with afternoon activity, but Maya felt isolated in a bubble of mounting dread. The photos are definitely professional quality, Sarah said, examining them with a magnifying glass. Whoever's doing this has experience with surveillance equipment. It has to be connected to Webb somehow. The timing, the psychological tactics, even the way they're using my professional knowledge against me. Maya rubbed her temples, feeling the beginning of a headache. But I can't figure out how he's orchestrating this from inside the facility. Sarah pulled out a thick file folder. I ran background checks on everyone Webb has had contact with since his incarceration. Guards, other inmates, visitors, even the cleaning staff. She opened the folder to reveal dozens of photographs and documents. One name kept coming up. Maya leaned forward as Sarah placed a photograph on the desk. It showed a man in his early 30s with dark hair and sharp features, wearing the uniform of a facility maintenance worker. David Price. He's worked at the psychiatric facility for 18 months, started about 6 months after Webb arrived. Clean background check, no criminal history, exemplary work reviews. Sarah paused. But here's the interesting part. He requested to be assigned to the wing where Webb is housed. That could be coincidence. Maybe, but I dug deeper. Sarah pulled out another document. Price's sister, Jennifer, was murdered 4 years ago. Unsolved case. The MO matched several other killings that we suspected might be connected to a serial predator, but we never had enough evidence to pursue it. Maya felt pieces of a puzzle clicking into place. You think Webb was involved in his sister's murder? I think it's possible. And if Price figured that out, he might have taken the job to get close to Webb. Maybe he wants revenge, or maybe ... Sarah's expression darkened. Maybe Webb convinced him to become a partner instead. Stockholm Syndrome with his sister's killer? Maya shook her head. That's incredibly rare, but not impossible, especially if Webb worked on him psychologically over months. You know how persuasive these predators can be. Maya thought about her session with Webb, how easily he had gotten under her skin with just words and implications. If he had months of regular contact with someone already emotionally vulnerable, "We need to find Price," Maya said. "Where is he now?" Sarah checked her watch. According to his schedule, he should be finishing his shift at the facility in about an hour. "But Maya, I don't want you anywhere near this investigation anymore. If Price is working with Webb, you're in serious danger. I can't just hide while they're threatening innocent people. Mrs. Peterson doesn't even know she's at risk. We've already moved her to stay with her daughter across town. She's safe." Sarah closed the file folder. "But you need to disappear for a while. Go stay with family, take a vacation, anything to break your routine and get out of their sight." Maya's phone buzzed. Another text from the unknown number. "Leaving so soon?" The game was just getting interesting. Both women stared at the message. Maya looked around the police station nervously. "They're watching the police station," she whispered. Sarah immediately got on her radio, requesting additional patrol units and instructing them to watch for any suspicious vehicles in the area. Within minutes, the station was buzzing with activity as officers prepared to sweep the surrounding blocks. Maya's phone buzzed again. This time it was a photo of the police station's front entrance, taken from across the street. The timestamp showed it was taken less than 2 minutes ago. "He's right outside," Maya said. Sarah was already moving, coordinating with other detectives to surround the building. But even as they mobilized, Maya knew it was too late. Whoever was watching her had probably already moved on, melting back into the crowd with the patience of a professional predator. 20 minutes later, Sarah returned to her office, frustrated. "We found the spot where the photo was taken, but no one was there. We're canvassing the area, checking security cameras from nearby businesses." Maya stared out the window at the busy street. "He's not going to make it that easy. This whole thing has been planned too carefully. Maya, I need you to listen to me. Go home, pack a bag, and go somewhere these people can't predict. Don't tell anyone where you're going, not even me. Change your entire routine." As Maya prepared to leave, her phone rang. The caller ID showed the psychiatric facility. "Dr. Chen, this is Dr. Harrison. I'm sorry to bother you, but we have a situation with Marcus Webb. He's requesting an emergency session with you." "What kind of situation?" "He's refusing to eat, refusing his medication. He says he'll only speak to you, and he claims he has information about a crime that's about to be committed." Harrison's voice was strained. "Maya, he specifically mentioned your name and said if you don't come in within the next 2 hours, someone innocent is going to get hurt." Maya looked at Sarah, who was shaking her head emphatically. "Dr. Harrison, can you put extra security on Webb's wing? I think he may have been communicating with someone on the outside." "That's impossible. All his communications are monitored. What about the maintenance staff? Anyone knew who might have had unsupervised access to his area?" There was a pause. Well, there was an incident last week. One of our maintenance workers, David Price, was found in an unauthorized area near Webb's cell. But he claimed he was just checking a plumbing issue. Maya's blood ran cold. Dr. Harrison, you need to find David Price right now. Don't let him leave the facility. I'm checking the schedule. Maya, Price called in sick today. He hasn't been at work. Sarah grabbed the phone from Maya's hand. Dr. Harrison, this is Detective Rodriguez with Metro Police. Lock down your facility immediately. We're sending units over now. But even as Sarah coordinated the response, Maya knew they were still one step behind. Webb had been manipulating events from the beginning, and now his plan was accelerating toward some conclusion she couldn't yet see. Her phone buzzed one final time. The message contained just an address, her home address, and 4 words: "Game over." Your move. Maya stood outside her apartment building, knowing she was walking into a trap, but unable to see any alternative. Sarah had tried to stop her, but Maya understood something the detective didn't. This wasn't random. Webb had studied her psychology for months, and he knew she would never be able to live with herself if someone else got hurt because of her. The front door to her building was unlocked, which never happened. Maya climbed the stairs slowly, every instinct screaming at her to run. But Mrs. Peterson's granddaughter lived just 3 blocks away, and Maya couldn't risk this escalating to innocent family members. Her apartment door was slightly ajar. Maya pushed it open and found David Price sitting in her living room, wearing the same maintenance uniform from his facility ID photo. He was younger than she had expected, with the kind of intense eyes she recognized from years of working with damaged individuals. "Dr. Chen, thank you for coming home. Where's Webb?" Maya remained standing near the door, calculating distances to exits. "Marcus is exactly where he belongs, locked up." Price's voice was calm, almost conversational. "But his lessons live on. Your sister, Jennifer, Webb killed her." Price's expression flickered, the first crack in his composed facade. "Marcus helped me understand that Jennifer chose to be a victim. Her behaviors, her routines, her trusting nature. She practically advertised her vulnerability." Maya recognized the language. It was exactly how Webb discussed victim psychology, turning the blame from predator to prey. "That's not true, David. Your sister was murdered by a psychopath. She didn't choose anything, but she did choose. Just like you're choosing right now." Price stood up slowly. "Marcus taught me how to see the patterns, how to identify the perfect victims, and how to use their own psychology against them. I'm not a victim, David. Aren't you?" Price smiled, and Maya saw Webb's influence in the expression. Isolated, predictable routines, strong protective instincts, high empathy levels. You literally wrote the profile yourself during our surveillance. Maya's heart raced as she realized the full scope of their planning. "How long have you been watching me?" 6 months. Ever since Marcus told me about his fascinating new therapist who reminded him so much of previous subjects. Price pulled out a tablet and showed Maya dozens of photos. Her at work, at the grocery store, at her morning coffee routine. "You made it so easy. Same schedule every day, same routes, same vulnerabilities. The police know about you, David. Detective Rodriguez has units surrounding this building." "No, she doesn't." Price's smile widened. "Because you didn't tell her you were coming here. You couldn't risk involving law enforcement when innocent lives were at stake." Marcus predicted that exact response. Maya edged closer to the door, but Price shook his head. "Dr. Chen, we both know you're not going to run. That's not who you are. You stay and fight. You try to understand. You believe you can fix damaged people." He paused. "That's what makes you perfect." "Perfect for what?" "Marcus needs a successor. Someone who understands psychology, someone who can identify and select targets with scientific precision." Price's voice took on an almost reverent tone. "He's been training me, but I lack your educational background, your professional access to vulnerable populations." Maya felt sick as she understood. "You want me to help you hunt people. I want you to join a higher level of psychological understanding. Marcus has shown me that predators aren't born, they're made through revelation, through accepting the truth about human nature and power dynamics." Maya thought about all her sessions with Webb, how he had slowly shifted their conversations toward victim psychology, how he had gotten her to analyze her own vulnerabilities. He hadn't been planning an escape, he had been recruiting a replacement. "David, Webb is manipulating you just like he manipulates everyone else. This isn't revelation, it's psychological abuse." Price's expression hardened. "Marcus warned me you would say that. He said you tried to use therapeutic language to undermine my awakening." He pulled a knife from his jacket. "But he also taught me how to handle resistance." Maya's training kicked in. She had spent years learning to de-escalate dangerous situations, to find the psychological keys that could reach even the most damaged minds. "Tell me about Jennifer," she said quietly. "What was she really like?" Price hesitated, the knife wavering slightly in his hand. "Not what Marcus told you she was like. What you remember about your sister before he twisted your memories. Jennifer was ... Price's voice cracked slightly. "She was kind. She helped people. She volunteered at the animal shelter. She always checked on elderly neighbors. She sounds like someone worth protecting, not someone who deserved to die." But Marcus explained. "Marcus is a predator, David. He killed your sister, and now he's trying to kill the part of you that loved her." Maya took a small step forward. Jennifer didn't choose to be a victim. She chose to be compassionate, and a monster used that against her. Price was trembling now, the knife shaking in his grip. "But if that's true, then everything I've done ... you can still stop this. Webb's influence ends the moment you decide to think for yourself again." For a moment, Maya thought she had reached him. Price lowered the knife slightly, his expression confused and lost. Then Maya's phone buzzed with an incoming call. Webb's name appeared on the caller ID. Price's expression hardened again as he realized what was happening. "He said you would try to confuse me," he said when doubt crept in. I should remember why we started this game. Price answered Maya's phone and put it on speaker. Webb's voice filled the apartment, calm and confident. "Hello, Dr. Chen. I trust David is taking good care of you." "This ends now, Marcus," Maya said. "On the contrary, this is where it truly begins. David, show Dr. Chen what happens to people who refuse to evolve." Maya saw Price's grip tighten on the knife and knew she was out of time for psychological intervention. She grabbed the wine bottle from her counter and smashed it against Price's wrist, causing him to drop the weapon. As he lunged for her, she managed to get to her front door and into the hallway. Behind her, she could hear Webb's voice still coming from her phone, giving Price instructions with the calm precision of a chess master moving pieces. Maya ran down the stairs and burst onto the street, immediately calling Sarah. But even as sirens began to wail in the distance, she knew this wasn't over. Webb had spent months studying her psychology, understanding her patterns, and one failed attempt wouldn't stop him from trying again. As police cars surrounded her building, Maya realized the most terrifying truth of all. Webb hadn't just been trying to create one successor. He had been documenting her methods, her insights into victim psychology, her professional access to vulnerable populations. Even locked up, he was building a network of predators who understood exactly how to identify and manipulate the perfect victims. The pattern wasn't ending with Price's arrest. It was just beginning. Maya looked up at her apartment window and saw the silhouette of law enforcement officers securing the scene. But somewhere out there, she knew, Webb was already identifying his next recruitment target. The game would continue with new players and new victims until someone found a way to break the cycle of psychological manipulation that turned grief into violence. As Sarah approached with a blanket and words of reassurance, Maya made a decision. She would spend whatever time was necessary understanding Webb's methodology, documenting his recruitment patterns, and finding a way to stop him from creating more predators from behind bars. Because she had learned the most important lesson of all, sometimes the only way to stop a monster is to understand exactly how monsters are made. If this psychological thriller kept you on the edge of your seat, please subscribe for more suspenseful stories that explore the darkest corners of human psychology. Share this story with friends who love psychological suspense, and comment below with your thoughts. Did you guess Webb's true plan before the final revelation? Your engagement helps us create more gripping content that dives deep into the minds of predators and the people brave enough to stop them.